What's up, A to Z Sports Nashville? Happy Friday. It's Easton Freeze here with Ryan Roberts, and we've got a great show to end your week with. We're talking Wildcard Titans here on the final show of the week. Who are the guys that could make or break the Titans' 2025 seasons? Ryan and I have both independently compiled our lists of the top 5 wildcard players on this Titans roster. We are going to compare and contrast. We're going to get you all's thoughts on who you believe to be the biggest wild card this year, as well as whose list you think is better once we go through that and we make our arguments. And then we'll talk about which position group has the most wild card potential. Who does the season maybe hinge on? Which group of players? That's the gist of today's conversation. It's going to go in 17,000 different directions because that's how Ryan and I roll. It's a very ADD program always when it's Ryan and I on the morning show. But it's going to be a good one today, and we hope you guys are having a great Friday. Ryan, hope you are having a great Friday. Excited to be here with you. Before we get into all of the wild card things on today's agenda, tell the folks what they got to do.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to get into it as well. I think wildcard is a very unique term that we can define in a few different ways, honestly. So excited to see where your headspace is at and my headspace is at, and we'll kind of compare those two headspaces. So before we get into it, though, folks, please, if you could, share the show. If you're watching live on Facebook, hit that share button in the bottom right-hand corner and get it out on your feed. If you're watching live on YouTube with us, take that YouTube link, send it to a friend in your life or one of your favorite group chats. Just find that Titans fan that you know and let them know that A to Z Sports is live and talking ultimate wild cards heading into the 2025 NFL season. You could also repost this on Twitter or X, even though X stinks right now and is broken and DMs are weird.
Yeah,
but
fix
make
that.
Sure to, yes, make sure to do that. Send Elon a message. I don't know, but make sure to spread the word the best you can. Don't forget that like button and thumbs up here on the show before we get going here on a wonderful Friday morning.
Yeah, let's get it started. Welcome into the A to Z Sports Morning Show, live on a Friday morning. We are live every weekday morning at 8-ish Central Time, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links tweeted out segment by segment on our Twitter feed at ATOZ Sports. Follow us there. Also follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more Titans coverage. And leave a 5-star Google review for us. A to Z Sports on Google. Leave that 5-star review. It's extremely helpful. We got to thank our sponsors for making the show happen and helping you guys out. Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And the Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine, boneandjointtn.org. Okay, Ryan, what is a wild card player? Tell the folks, tell me, because frankly we intentionally didn't discuss this at length. What do you think a wild card player is in the NFL?
For me, it's a player that I think you could have a wide variety of outcomes from a player, right? And that makes them the ultimate wild card for me. So when I project forward to the 2025 season, they could be a star, they could be a bust, and there's a lot of variance that potentially lie in it. So that's how I define wild card. I think some people can define it a little bit differently. It could be a little bit more cut and dry of a guy that you're not expecting at all to help you, and then ultimately bursts onto the scene. But for me, it's a player that I know is going to play, that's going to be involved in this team, it's going to hinder on the success. But ultimately, I don't know what to expect from them. That's what they're a wild card to me.
Okay, good. So we're both we're basically on the same page here. The wild card to me definitely needs to have some upside. I don't want to talk about guys that are maybe fringe level starters. Like there needs to be somebody that has the potential to be a real impact player on the team. But as you said, somebody who we have the most questions about heading into the year. And for me, at least, I think the position they play is a big deal, right? Like this is a lot like draft mentality. Positional value here matters to me. There are some guys at less premium positions who I have big questions about, but in the grand scheme of things, when I think about what it means to the team when the best case scenario happens versus what it means to the team when the worst case scenario happens, it's like, okay, well, that's not going to make or break the season. It'll be nice if they're good, and it won't be the end of the world if they're bad. So I'm trying to find the guys who it will be fantastic if they're good, and it will maybe also be the end of the world, like literally the end for this team if they are bad.
Yep.
And so let's start before we reveal our lists. I want to get the audience's opinion on who they think the biggest wild card is. No, Big Ten Jeff, reading skills in the chat. Titans in the wild card? No, my friend. No. What topic is this?
It's not even how the title reads, Jeff.
No.
I mean, literally, you just read the topic. That's exactly what it is.
Jeff,
Wild card players that could make or break the title.
I think Jeff just woke up. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's groggy here on a Friday morning. Let's
Sure.
clean our eyes and let's reread that Big Ten, Jeff. So throw it in the chat, Ryan. Let's go ahead and get the folks' opinion on who they think the biggest wild card player is. Again, not the almost forgotten important caveat. I don't know if you abided by these rules, but just like yesterday, house rule still applies. Cam Ward's off the table. Like, if we want to talk about Cam Ward being number one, because he's obviously number one, we can talk about Cam Ward being number one. But
see, I knew you were going to do this to me, so I actually had
6.
One of my 5 placeholder was one player or another player, and I was going to switch back either Cam Ward or the unnamed player to be announced later.
I mean, we can all agree he's the biggest wild card, right? Like, duh, obviously. Yeah. We don't need to have that conversation. So, don't send Cam Ward in the chat. Aside from Cam Ward, the obvious number one, who else is the biggest wild card on the team? And if you could send that in the chat, Ryan.
Yep.
We'll get those. Okay, perfect. We'll get those kind of flying in. And we've already got some answers here. Let's see. King VC says James Williams at the linebacker position. Cam Ward's burner says Cushenberry at center was a big risk that hasn't worked so far. Sneed. I think there's going to be a lot of talk about Sneed for a second day in a row today. John Vargas says Brownlee. Colin says Tyler Lockett. Steven says the entire offensive line. Top tier says Sneed and Chig. Like I said Brownlee. Kyle says any of the rookie receivers. Dan Moore. Sneed is the epitome of a wild card, according to Tall Texan. Certainly agree on that. Jonathan says the rookie Kevin Winston. Sneed.
Kevin Winston is a wild card. He didn't make my list, but that's a very interesting one, Kevin Winston.
I'm going to talk a little bit about Kevin Winston, so don't you worry about that.
All right.
Let's see. Brownlee, Sneed, Winston, Moore, Gray. Cedric Gray's first appearance on the board. Demi, who is Demi? Lovato? Is she on this team? I'm assuming this is Femi.
I'm assuming
right.
Femi, yeah.
Good call, but I prefer to assume they're talking about 2008 era Disney Channel superstar Demi Lovato, who I hear has changed a little bit since then. Dan Moore, Femi, Cedric Gray, Sneed, wild card Will Levis, says Rashid. Get out of here. Ban that guy, chat.
That is the ultimate wild card right there.
Yeah, mods, get that guy out of here. Get him out. A whole list from Raz. Here's his top 5, apparently. Okay, like this. Lockett, Chig, Moore, Woods, and Femi. All right, there we go. A super chat from King VC along the way here. Lock in, like the show. Good morning to you, King VC. Always appreciate seeing you in the chat. And he's right, folks. Lock in, like the show. I can see the like count right now. It's kind of pathetic. I know it's a Friday. I know it's a casual Friday, but we're not going casual on the likes, okay? We need to go hardcore on the likes here on a casual Friday. Thank you very much. So a lot of familiar faces on here. I don't know about you, Ryan, because we've not revealed our lists to one another yet, but I'm seeing a lot of my players on these lists. There is at least one player on my list that I have not seen a single time in the chat, which is interesting. And he is actually the second player, number 2 on my list.
Oh, so you ranked them? You actually?
I did rank them.
Okay.
So if you want to,
I only wrote 5, but I will quickly rank them as we go through this.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
All right, so let's in an effort to kind of talk about all these different guys who I've not seen a single bad answer in the chat except for wildcard Will Levis, who we already banned that guy. Spears, that's a new one. Okay, I'm seeing more Lloyd Cushenberry than I was expecting to see, which I think is fair. Okay, and I just for the first time saw somebody say the guy that I was talking about a second ago. So there we go. So I have my 5 players ranked. I also have 3 honorable mentions. But I'm not going to reveal those in case those honorable mentions are guys on your list. I'll reveal them afterwards if we've not talked about them. So, Ryan, I'll give the floor to you. Who have you had a chance to rank them real quick?
Oh, yeah, we got them. We're good
okay, perfect. Who is your number 5 wild card player on the 2025 Tennessee Titans?
Number 5 for me is rookie wide receiver Elok Manor as my wild card here. I think that you could have made a conversation point about DK as he earlier drafted wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. Some psychos out there are going to say Xavier Restrepo, I'm sure, of the rookie wide receivers. We're going to have that fan Claire, but ultimately I'm going to go with Elok Manor. I think that we know that Calvin Ridley is going to be a 1,000-yard receiver as long as he is healthy. I think we know that Tyler Lockett will be a solid, steady number 2 more than likely. But the real wild card is Alec Ayomanor, who is still a very talented but semi-raw player in some capacities. He could have almost a year where it's just like this is a learning year. Like, just go learn the dudes. You're going to get some reps, but like this is your job. Year 1 is to be ready for 2026 in a much more full-time capacity, or he could be at least your number 3 receiver in 2025. Like, maybe he ascends to number 2. Like, who knows? Ultimately, he has that type of upside and that volatility. So a wild card for me, Ayomanor, because I don't really know what to expect from him. Like, again, this could kind of be a very slow process, build it up, develop, or this could be a guy that you're depending on for Cam Ward in his rookie season.
Yeah, going to do a lot of talking about worst case and best case scenarios, because I think that's the framework that I mentally approached this with. When I think about the Titans receiver room, worst case scenario this year, I'm picturing Calvin Ridley being Calvin Ridley, maybe even kind of a depressed version of him like we saw last year, where it's like, okay, 1,000-yard receiver, but a lot of weeks we were left wanting a little bit. And aside from him, a bunch of guys who are like guest stars on a sitcom, just kind of coming and going and no consistency. And you never quite know, what 3-episode run they might appear on and then disappear from your lives forever. And that may just be the way that Cam Ward has to live in his rookie year. And I don't think that has to be the end of the world. And we'll talk about why, because of a different position group, I'm sure, here in a couple of minutes. But, and I think there are some examples of guys that have succeeded this way, like Jaden Daniels is the obvious example last year, where he had Terry McLaurin and then a bunch of guys who weren't bad. They were serviceable, but they were all inconsistently serviceable. And any given week, it was kind of a different guy. Right. And because it required Jaden being a very good quarterback, and it required, it was very helpful that he had a veteran tight end who he had instant chemistry with, in Zach Ertz, for example, which I think the Titans could. I have an honorable mention on my list at tight end in Gunnar Helm. Is he on your list?
Gunnar Helm is not on my list.
Okay, I assumed
the
not.
position might be on my list, though.
Okay,
so yes.
So Helm was on my list kind of for that reason, to whether or not he could be that safety blanket, that emergency valve for Cam Ward. So that's kind of the worst case for me. And so when I ask myself, okay, how do you escape that version of this timeline? I think the player most likely to do that, and it seems like we agree, is Alec Ayomanor. He's the one most likely to emerge from that rotating door of side characters on this team to be a constant, and to, in college, his production on paper, he had, I forget, like 800,000-900,000 yards, something like that. He had
years ago, he did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He had a couple of seasons that were like that you're hoping could translate to the NFL. But more importantly, when you grade on a scale for that Stanford offense, it was like he had like 33% of the team's production. Like the snap count and the production percentage was outrageous. He was carrying the team production wise.
Sure.
And I don't think he's ever going to be asked to do that at the NFL level. But alongside a guy like Ridley, if he can shoulder even a Tyler Lockett serving of production, right? And you get 1,000+ yards out of Ridley, you get 500+ out of Lockett, and you get 500+ out of Ayomanor, which is, I think, a pretty conservative ask. Like, that's no stellar season when you have one 1,000-yard receiver and two 500-yard receivers. That's like, okay. But if you can get that for Cam Ward in his rookie year,
it's progress.
Then it's progress. It's certainly progress over last year, where they had Ridley, scraping to get to the 1,000-yard mark. I think you had Chig surpass 500, and that's it.
Everybody this offseason was clamoring for NWI, right? Where it was just like,
how many yards did he finish with?
That's where I think he went 500, right? Like 400 something. Yeah. I don't think it was much, but like people were clamoring for him to come back as like a top 3 receiver.
Well, it was all the touchdowns.
Team. Yeah, it was the touchdowns, and it's also I think your Sanders
497. He did not get. He had 9 touchdowns on less than 500 yards.
Yeah. And it would have been nice to have him back for like the right price, right? It would have been just to kind of raise the floor of the room. But like, But like that's the point though, is that some people wanted him back so desperately because the standards of wide receiver play for Tennessee has been kind of pulled down a little bit, right? Where it's just like, we need that 497-yard wide receiver back to help complete our room. It's
a hot 29 yards a game isn't quite doing it for you, I'm afraid.
And a couple people made the point in the chat, which I failed to mention, which I think is a great point, is that the reason that Io Manor, is so like a potential wild card in this group is because he brings a profile that you just don't have in the wide receiver room right now.
Bingo.
Right? Like, you don't have a guy that can true X in the offense. You don't. And that's the thing about DK, is DK might even be a guy that in a low volume perspective could have some like big plays in a certain capacity, right? And
he's
special teams
gimmick X. Like he's a
but my point is
X.
He's not playing X, is my point, right? He's like his style is going to try to mesh with Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett, and you already have those players at a surplus. You don't have an X in this offense that can make plays potentially.
Yep. And I mean, if we're gonna make the comparison to NWI, Io Manor is just bigger, faster NWI. Like the blocking willingness and profile that he brings, very similar. NWI is a bigger guy at receiver, not big, but bigger. Io Manor is just bigger than he is bigger. Like, he's, again, not huge. We're not talking about Drake London here, but he has a frame that nobody else in this receiver room has. And you can see that. Go back to the clips from rookie minicamp. You can see that. And I think the body control and the acceleration, the burst that he has at his size is something that pops pretty quickly too. So it's those things, those tools that I think you can use to be the one most likely to elevate the receiver room above what we are afraid it's going to be, which is just Ridley and the super friends. Like, it, right. Not the not so super friends, Ridley and the, I don't know what we would call them, Ridley and the, we'll have to workshop that. I don't know. What's a word for like not so exciting friends? I don't want to say Ridley and the losers because that's way too mean.
That is really mean. Yes, let's not do that.
Chat, workshop that. What would we call that version of the Titans? In the meantime, I'll go to my number 5 player.
Super kids.
Super kids? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Super toddlers.
They have talent, but they're very young and underdeveloped. And let's do that.
Yeah. It's like the superhero trope when your favorite franchise gets like a CW spinoff. And it's about like their high school years when they have powers, they don't know how to use them. Maybe that's kind of we're getting somewhere with that.
Someone said Ridley and the rejects. Oh
no, rejects. They're not rejects. They were drafted. That's not rejection. There's a reject, and his name's Xavier Restrepo, but nobody else is a reject on that team. Ridley and the ragtags. I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
That's not bad.
Anyways, Ridley's rejects. Okay, my number 5 player, going to the defensive side of the ball, is Femi Oladejo, rookie edge rusher, who I don't love putting on this list because I don't love having to put any expectations on him based on him as a player profile in a vacuum. Before I knew what team he was going to be on, he was the kind of guy that I did not want to put expectations on in year one. But alas, he is a Tennessee Titan, and he is needed badly now. And so there are going to be some unfair expectations for him, I'm afraid. And, well, not totally unfair, because when you're a second-round pick, you're a second-round pick. Like, them's the breaks a little bit. But
sure,
I think we can all recognize that he is somebody that is probably going to take some time and is a year 2, year 3 bet more than he is a year 1 bet. And that's fine. But this year, as we've talked about, this edge room, you've got, an upgrade and upgrade singular at the position. But other than that, it is no better than it was last year in terms of veterans. And Femi is the one, Femi Automatic, as Daniel Caribbean reminds us in the chat, is the one who I think has the potential to take this room from very marginally better than it was last year, which is not good, to close to fine. I don't see a ceiling for this edge group, even if if Femi's a slam dunk home run version of himself out of the gate, I still think they are average, like league average. I don't think you're surpassing average with best version of year 1 Femi Automatic. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be talking about Femi here in a few minutes, so
Okay.
maybe leave it a little bit more brief. But yeah, I mean, I think that edge group leaves a lot to be desired, just from a just pure scope perspective, which is why I will again be talking about Femi here in a few minutes. If I can go to number 4, here's one that came up in the chat a lot. I'm interested to see if you have him on your list, okay? But I have Chig Okwankwo.
Oh,
I can't say his last name.
Okonk.
Okonkwo.
Whoa.
Okonkwo. There we
Where
go.
do you put that W? That's the difficult part.
That is yes. That is. There's so many variations of it. Yes, but Chig, tight ends. We've talked about him a ton on this show. There has been some extreme highs with Chig over the last couple years. There's been a lot of just where you at, bro? Like, are you still a part of this offense at times? But he's entering a contract season, right? He's entering a contract season. He also is one of the few veteran returners for a offense that needs a little bit of continuity, along with Calvin Ridley. You bring in Tyler Lockett, but he's not a veteran returner in the sense of he was a Tennessee Titan last season. I think Chig is a really talented movement-based tight end when you utilize him well. I actually think the Gunnar Helm addition helps his clarity of usage more than
100%
anything
agree.
in this offense. Like,
Yep,
he doesn't
it
have
can
to
be a
play
pure F.
Yeah. He pure flex, pure guy that's going to move all over the place, can play in the slot at times, like utilize his movement skills. And I think that there is a propensity for young quarterbacks to want the easy targets, short, intermediate, over the middle of the field, kind of those easy windows, right? And I think that Chig can provide those. So he could either be career year Chig, or he could be just kind of what Chig's been, right? Where it's just like some weeks are good, some weeks are very bad, some weeks you don't even see him, right? So I think that is the ultimate wild card for me, because I think that there is a level that Chig could still hit, or Chig could just be Chig. So number 4, Chig Okonkwo.
Okonkwo. Yeah, Chig is not on my list, but I do like your argument. And there are 2 reasons why I am going to be ultimately, I think, sucked back in on Chig this year. Number 1, you mentioned, is that it's contract year, and any player in a contract year has the potential to play like they're in a contract year. Number 2 is that when I watch Cam Ward, and this is something that, honestly, like this is something that I was thinking about very early on when I first watched Cam Ward in February or March or whenever it was. Did my full due diligence on him. My thought at the time, I wasn't sure where he was going to play, and I just thought to myself, whoever this guy plays with, whoever the best player is up the seam, is just going to get fed, because this guy loves to rip seam balls. Like, you see it all over his tape. This guy is fearless, just trying to drop it in a bucket up the seam. And I think Chig's the best player at running that route on this entire team. I think that's like going to be him. And he's the tight end that brings that vertical element, and you're going to be able to scheme matchups where he's mismatched against a linebacker or a box safety or something right up that seam. And I think it's going to work really well. So like, I think that I am going to, at the end of the year, chart like Chig total production versus Chig. That's not true. Chig total production versus Chig production explicitly up the seam. And I'm guessing it's going to be like a significant chunk of it. And that's because it's Cam Ward's bread and butter. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, he rips it. Yeah, that's one of his best attributes as a quarterback, in my opinion. Cam, obviously, he has like easy velocity as a thrower, but behind linebackers, in front of safeties, like that is Cam Ward's bread and butter. Like, that's the zones that he typically exploits a lot. Real quick in the chat, throw in the comments, what year was Easton born? We had a 2008 that was thrown in there, so throw in some years that Easton was born in.
Let's see how long it takes for somebody to. I mean, I've said before how old I am. Earlier this week with Austin, I said how old I was. So if anyone's been paying attention, they should be able to get that. I'm going to reveal my number 4 player here in just a minute, but not before I tell you all about our friends over at the Barton Drury Insurance Group. Customized solutions for all your insurance needs. BartonDrury.com. They truly are a one-stop shop for both your personal and business insurance needs. Austin and Zach here at A to Z felt about their buying experience from Barton Drury, because this is the insurance group that we used for our corporate insurance here at A to Z, that they had a number of different options and plans. Their responsiveness was great. Their experience with the service team was fantastic. The level of expertise was top-notch. They sell employee benefits, 401k planning, life insurance, workers' comp, liability, auto, property, umbrella, and surety bonds. And I am young enough to not know what all of those things are, but I do know that they are things that you want an insurance group to be able to sell to you when you find yourself at a point in your adult life when you need a surety or an umbrella bond, whatever those are. And they can do that for you. So that's fantastic. They're local. They strive to provide excellent service, but they also want to take time to make sure everyone understands their insurance policies. Another thing that me as a young person really appreciates when you don't just use big words and you can really get on my level and explain to me what it is I'm signing up for. The Barton Drury insurance group over at bartondrury.com, they can do that for you.
You all in the chat are awesome. I love you. Make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. After the show, you can also, I believe, like on Twitch. We talked about this yesterday. I don't know exactly how Twitch works, but you can like it there, I think. And I think
where my Twitchers at?
Yeah, you can follow the channel, I believe. You can also go on Facebook, share. Make sure to share at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Hit that like button as well. 5-star Google reviews after the show. Don't click out yet. And please do not try to guess my age in the chat. Appreciate it very much.
Oh, no, we're about to do that in here in a second. In the chat, 07, he's 18 years old. Not true. There's a disrespectful number of years in the chat.
Barely legal, man. Barely legal.
That begin with a 2. I was not born in the 2000s, people. Okay, as the first person to get it right was J Parch FTW 99. The 90s were probably the best month and a half of my life. I loved the 90s. The 90s were fantastic. I soaked it all up. I was there. I know exactly what happened.
Sure.
And it was a blast. And I too laugh at these children who weren't around for what the 90s were. They were fantastic. I know you loved the 90s because that was, it was 1990 when you got your driver's license, right? So
I would actually
you were hitting the town in the 90s.
See, someone said that I'm only 28, and I love them. I love them so much that I would only be 28.
Yeah, chat. That's the harder question. So people for the most part, 94, 95. No, I'm not that old. Yeah. How old do we think? What year do we think Ryan was born? Since he got his driver's license in 1990. Do the math on that one. Okay, Ryan is 35, says Curtis. Were you at Woodstock? Were you out there?
Woodstock 99.
Yeah.
I love that. That's good. A couple people are actually pretty close on this one. So yeah.
Easton being Gen Z explains everything, does it?
I guess.
At least 42?
Someone said I'm 42.
42 is outrageous. That is so disrespectful. 42 is crazy. You guys think that he's 7 years older than Austin. That's insane.
That is insane. We had someone that guessed it, so I'll just hit that one real quick. So where was it? Oh, you guys are being wild. D. Christophel said Ryan is 33. He is correct. Ryan is 33. Ryan was born in 1991. So Ryan is 33 years old. Will be 34 this October. So there you go.
Michael says 34 years old, so 91. Yeah.
Not 91 with 2 kids, man. 91 with 2 kids. So
love it. Okay. Andrew says Ryan is old enough to know what dial-up is.
Oh yeah. Do you know what dial-up is?
I do know. I never used it, but I know what it is. Yes.
I know the struggle of having to wait until your mom was off the phone to start the computer. I know that struggle very well.
I know that they used to send you the internet in the mail, which is also a crazy thing.
In the mail, yeah.
A disc.
Oh my gosh, that dial-up tone is still like entrenched in my mind. Oh my gosh, horrible, absolutely horrible. Yes, dial-up was quite an experience.
All right, well, that's enough of memory lane. Let's get back to today's topic. My number 4 Titans wildcard player is Dan Moore Jr., left tackle, and the reason why he is instead of any other offensive lineman on my list is just that, as somebody said in the chat at the top of the show, somebody said the entire offensive line. That's kind of my answer, and so I picked the guy that I have the least confidence, or not least confidence, I have the most questions about on the offensive line, and that's Dan Moore. Now, I certainly have questions about some other players, namely Lloyd Cushenberry at center. And center is very important, especially that communication with the rookie quarterback and all of that like that. I'm not trying to diminish that. But at the end of the day, tackle is tackle. Sure. And when you have a guy like Moore, not only are there a lot of questions, but they're very high leverage questions because you just paid him $250 million. and you have him locked down for multiple years. So you're stuck with this guy. He needs to be good, especially at the left tackle position. And I'm not super worried about it because, again, back to floors and ceilings, I think the floor is still better than Nicholas Petit-Frere. So, like, it's not the nightmare levels that we have become accustomed to around here, but it's still not good enough. It's certainly not good enough to justify the contract he was given. If the explanation is merely better than NW or better than NPF.
Mm-hmm.
The ceiling is he's a average or above average left tackle in the league, and that's really all you're asking for. Really, all you're asking for is to be the 15th or 16th best left tackle in the league, and give up 7 sacks on the year and just be okay, like not the end of the world at all. And maybe 7's a little bit much, but I'm being conservative. I think that's in him. I'm not panicking over what the Dan Moore experience is going to be, like some did when he was signed. And there's actually a great conversation that I had with. Who did I have it with?
Can't be that great of a conversation if you don't remember.
No,
who you're talking to.
I talked to so many fantastic people.
Yes.
Mr. Trench Warfare. What's his name? The guy who runs Trench Warfare.
Trench Warfare. Oh, Evan Silva. No. I'm sorry. No, you're
totally
talking about
blanking on his name
Brandon Thorne, right?
Brandon Thorne. Yeah.
Yes.
Apologies to Brandon, who's I'm bad with. I forget my own wife's name sometimes. Brandon Thorne, who is the godfather of NFL media when it comes to offensive line evaluation. We had a great discussion with him on the YouTube channel a month or two ago. Back I think the week that Dan Moore was signed. And it was actually, no, it wasn't on YouTube. Excuse me. It was in an article because it was over the phone. There's an article which you can go and find. If you just search Dan Moore, Easton Freeze on A to Z Sports, you'll find it. And he talked a lot about the ceiling versus floor elements of the tackle position and how, at any given point, there's probably 15 to 20 serviceable left tackles in the entire league. And the other 12 teams in the league are rocking with dudes that really aren't serviceable, but you're just having to make it work because that's the supply and demand of it.
Horrible offensive linemen in the NFL right now, man.
There are so many bad ones. So bad. Right. Yes. Right. And so you're just hoping that he's one of those, like, just be one of the 20 guys that you can actually run an offense with. And I think that obviously the Titans think that he can. They think that he can be better than that based on what they paid him. But I think that he can too. So he's a wild card because I'm not sure that he's going to be that. But he's really, more than anything, he's representative of the offensive line as a whole to me. Because as I've said before, and we talked about it yesterday, I think that if you tell me this offensive line is good, then Cam Ward has a good year and the Titans have a good year. And if you tell me that it's bad, Cam Ward has a bad year and the Titans have a bad year. I think I think the offensive line is the linchpin for this offense to fail or succeed this year. And Dan Moore is the guy who maybe the most pressure hinges on because we just don't know with him.
And that was your number 4, right? Dan
number 4, yep.
4? Yep. Well, funny enough, I'm going to roll right into an offensive lineman because I think that offensive line has to be on this list. Absolutely does. Last thing I'll say about our fun thing in the chat is that someone said Easton doesn't know how to write a check or use a rotary phone, which I thought was hilarious.
How dare you? I do know how to use a rotary phone. Never have.
Yeah.
And I know how to write a check. Except like when I do, it's once every other year, and I have to re-Google it to make sure I'm doing it right. I have to second guess myself.
I second guess myself still on checks sometimes, to be honest with you. But yes,
who's writing checks? Who amongst you in the chat is out here ripping checks all the time?
We write checks every single week for daycare because they're like an old-fashioned one that's like cash or check. It's like, all right,
no, brother,
sure,
I'll Venmo you. I'll sell you, please, and thank you.
Number 3 for me. Speaking of offensive line. I did not have Dan Moore or JC Latham on my list. And the reason why is I feel like I more know what to expect from them as far as Dan Moore's a veteran. Like if he's just what he was, it's an upgrade potentially to one of your tackle spots. JC Latham showed me enough as a rookie that I feel okay about his projection long-term in the future. I went with the injury question mark of Lloyd Cushenberry. That's where I went because for me, I think, like, you never want to have pressure from anywhere, right? Like, ideally. But I do think that interior pressure can hurt a quarterback's confidence a lot more, especially a young one, especially Cam Ward, who does like to navigate the middle of the field in the passing game a lot. So I think having Lloyd Cushenberry back to full health and playing the best version of himself that we've seen of him in a Tennessee Titans uniform could be just so beneficial for Cam, because ultimately this franchise is only going to be as good as Cam Ward is. That's the crux of it. And I do think interior pressure is harder for some quarterbacks to navigate at times, which is why I went Cushenberry third, because ultimately I think Lloyd, as long as he's healthy, is going to be a good football player. But him coming off the injury what is the timetable right now? He's a veteran presence. He's one of your linchpins up front. He's one of your most important players, I think, on the entire roster because of that experience and because he is now the center for a rookie quarterback and a number 1 overall draft pick. So I went number 3, Lloyd Cushenberry, coming off the injury.
Definitely hear you, and I agree that he's a wild card. The reason why he's not on my list is because of the opportunity cost. If Lloyd can't go, then I'm not nearly as concerned with who has to fill in for him than I am, as we talked about yesterday, a tackle. Yeah,
that's fair.
Brother, I don't know. Like, I don't know. There's not a great answer, however you slice it. So that's kind of my reasoning for him not being on my list. My number 3 player is kind of cheating because it's 2 players. It's more position again than it is a player.
Sure.
Yeah. I've got Xavier Woods and or Kevin Winston Jr.
Interesting.
And the reason why is this is got to represent for the safety position. As I've talked about ad nauseum on the show many, many times over the past couple of months, the Titans defense is designed to where the spine of the defense, there has to be a linchpin there to hold it all together. And we saw firsthand how that all comes apart if and when you lose reliability up the spine of the defense when the Titans lost their fixer at linebacker in Ernest Jones and their fixer at safety in Quandre Diggs in back-to-back weeks right in the middle of the year. And the defense promptly went from one of the best units in the league to one of the worst units in the league and stayed that way for the rest of the year. I'm not sitting here saying that I think Xavier Woods is going to be a breakout star for this team. And I'm not sitting here saying that Kevin Winston Jr. is, I think, for sure going to be a star immediately. I think he has star potential down the road, but this year, my expectations are tempered. Right. But I think you're really going to need one or both of them to be average or above average at the position for this to be the straw that kind of stirs the defense's drink. And if we're especially continuing to assume that the pass rush is a relative non-factor, which I don't know how you don't, man, the back end is going to be held together by that safety position. And Amani Hooker is a very good player, an underrated player, but he has shown that he is at his absolute best when he's not having to try to quarterback the entire defense and hold it all together. And when he's having to be on babysitter duty, it's limiting for him and it's unfair for him. And it's not the style of player that he is. He's a fast read and react guy. He's not somebody that is necessarily, he's not got that Kevin Byard mindset where he can flip it into being the true safety valve kind of guy in a super effective way. Like, that's just not him. And he's not at his best when he's doing that. And so having somebody else in there in Woods or in Winston Jr. who can help hold down the fort is going to be I think a force multiplier for him and for the rest of the defense. So that's why I have the safeties at number 3.
Well, I love the mention of Kevin Winston Jr. I would add him as an honorable mention on this list, especially when we were talking before the show and people were during the show, earlier in the show, when people were putting names into the chat. I think Kevin Winston is a really good one that I didn't honestly think enough about, to be honest, because he is also a wild card in the sense of he's back now, but he's coming off an injury. He missed the majority of the 2024 season. So he is a wild card because you haven't seen him on the field in a live action in a very, very long time at this point. And he was a guy that fell a little bit in draft because of that injury ultimately. So he could he could pay huge dividends early, or he could be a guy that's just brought along slowly. So I'm interested to see what Kevin Winston Jr. ultimately does this season. Number 2 for me is a player that you already talked about, and I'm just going to kind of work through it pretty quick. Femi Akindele, edge, rookie. I also didn't like having him this high. I didn't like, admittedly, did not like having him this high.
It's
But
unfair, man.
it is. But ultimately, you didn't do a ton to upgrade the edge room this offseason. And your thought process was, as an organization, we're going to draft Femi in the second round. And that is going to be a guy that we need to depend on. I do not think this is going to be a redshirt season for Femi Oladipo. I think that he's going to play a lot in 2025. And my wild cardness to this conversation is he's either going to be better than I think as a pass rusher early and seriously help a team that needs outside pass rush help, or some people after his rookie year are going to be calling him a bust and say like, oh my God, that guy can't play. That's going to happen. I promise you. It's either going to be one of those realities. I like Femi as a talent. I don't know if he's a day one guy that should be starting, considering he's only been playing edge for 10 or 11 football games in his career, but he has a lot of tools. He has a lot of athleticism. I think if he is better than or more impactful early than I think he will be, that would severely upgrade this defense just in general. You have the interior defensive line. If you have an outside pass rush that can get home with some type of regularity, Femi included, I think that could be a huge wild card for this defense.
Yep, obviously I agree, and I think what we ultimately agree on here is the fact that it is not fair that he's going to be asked to be the level of impact that they need him to be, but they need him to be it. So that's just the way it's going to work. And so maybe what the question is, what do you think of fair? Like, what is a fair expectation for him considering these elevated stakes at the position? Like, what is a success from Femi in year one?
I mean, for me, it's like if he's your number one edge off the bench in year one, I think that is a success in my opinion. So You have your two starters, Arden Key and Draymond Jones, right? That they signed in free agency. Yep. So they have two veteran guys there. But if Femi is able, at least as a designated pass rusher or just part-time player, rotational player, to come in, have like 5 to 6 sacks in that capacity and play, because he's going to be a good run defender. I saw someone say he needs to set a firm edge, like he needs to do that well. That's one thing that he did really well at UCLA.
I was about to say, this is not James Pierce, folks. It's not a DPR type. Like,
no,
I think he may be used that way this year, but that's not the profile.
I'm actually more comfortable with him on early downs as an edge setter than I am as a pass rusher right now. Yes. Like way more. So I think he's going to play.
This guy played off-ball linebacker. Just reminder, he knows the run game.
I think if he is a good rotational piece along with the top two, and he's your first edge off the bench at least, and he provides 5 to 6 sacks and shows some upside as a pass rusher in 17 games, I feel good about that. Like, I mean, there's even a world where he only has like reasonable. 4 sacks and like a bunch of hurries, and you feel good about it. But I just want him to pique my interest more as a long-term pass rusher and do the run game stuff. Because again, I think that he is going to be at least a kick butt run defender. Like at worst, I think that's what he's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's really reasonable, and I am pleasantly surprised that that's the answer. I don't think if I asked a lot of Titans fans, they would give such a reasonable answer. Just because again, there's so much bandwidth for like people to take the mantle at this position. Like it is unbroached territory. A lot of it. It's the Wild West. There are acres of land for you to just go stake your claim on. And the hope is that Femi can claim as much of the workload in that room as he can. But I think what you laid out there is the fair expectation in year one. Now in year two, I mean, no matter what happens this year, my year two expectations for this second round pick edge rusher are going to be, they're going to be really elevated. It's going to be like not just a starter, but a clear plus starter to me. And we're going to need to be like sniffing double-digit sack seasons, I think, to be a true success.
And I would love to hear in the chat real quick, like, so let me lay it out a little bit more specifically. If Jeff Simmons takes his game up a step, right, as a interior pass rusher and gets a little bit more after the quarterback consistently, and he's his dominant force, Tavondre Sweat does a lot of the dirty work, and he's a physical dude in the run game. If you have, let's say, Arden Key, you have Draymond Jones, and you have Femi, and let's say each has 5 to 6 sacks on top of the interior players you have, would you be happy with that? I mean, personally, for me, I'd be very happy with that. If each one of those guys had 5 to 6 sacks, your interior defense line's really good. Like, that's reasonable, I think.
Well, it is reasonable, I think, given this room. Like, I feel like we are grading on a curve because our expectations are so low for this group. But for this group, yeah, I would be pleased with that. Frankly, I think that'd be fine. And they, I mean, based on what they did last year, because even when this was a good defensive unit at the beginning of the year, it wasn't because they were effectively rushing the passer then. They weren't. They were never effectively rushing the passer at any point during the year.
Yeah.
So it was just because you can make up for it on the back end and up the spine. And if they can do that, which I think the onus is still going to be there, fair or not fair, because of the way that this edge group is set up for hopefully just one more year. Hopefully next year, that first overall pick can be one of these stud edge rushers and we can be out of the gate. But until then, it's the way that it's going to be. Okay, I've got 2 guys left on my list. I'll get to my number 2 player here in just a minute. But first, let me tell you about our friends over at the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee. They're the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine at boneandjointtn.org. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust, and we trust the Bone and Joint Institute. They're located in Franklin with over a dozen specialists who can help you through any type of injury. They have a state-of-the-art rehab facility on campus to help you recover. Bone and Joint can do everything under one roof for your convenience. So they got a clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, and rehab all in that one gorgeous campus off the interstate in Franklin. To schedule an appointment, go to boneandjointtn.org.
Make sure, folks, before we get into the next section of the show, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, notification bell to know when a next show is coming from you for A to Z Sports, live on Twitch, live on Facebook, like buttons over there, and 5-star Google reviews after the show. Very much appreciated here at A to Z Sports.
All right, my number 2 player is a guy that we've not talked about once yet on the show. It is Cody Barton, inside linebacker, and I'm going back to the well with my second and third players on this list we're just representing the entire spine of the defense. And I thought about which inside linebacker I wanted to put here. And on my honorable mentions list, I have a section that is Cedric Gray, James Williams, Otis Reese, David Benda, just kind of all smashed together into one word.
Sure.
But I'm going with Cody Barton here as the sole representative at number 2 because I don't think any of those other inside linebackers, frankly, have proven enough to even be wild card status. Like, I think when we set out the rules at the top of the show, and we talked about we don't want guys that are truly unproven in any way. Those are all guys that are truly unproven in terms of real upside starter ability. Barton is not. Barton is somebody that, I mean, he was just signed to a $25 million 3-year deal because of the fact that he has in his career, especially last year in Denver, shown that he can be a plus starter at inside linebacker. And he was brought in to be a tent pole of sorts for that room as they hope to see the tremendous potential upside out of Gray, Williams, Reese, and/or Benda come out. But if and until that happens, the onus on the position is on him kind of entirely. And I think that he can do it. But let's talk floors and ceilings real quick. I mean, I think the worst case scenario for the inside linebacker room this year is kind of bleak. Like, I think if Barton doesn't click in the system for whatever reason, there's no guarantee that any of these other guys are going to break out, especially not out of the gate. Like, if you told me one of these guys breaks out this year, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Good. I'm glad. But if you asked me to guess when it happened, it's not week 1 or week 3. Like, it's not September. It's probably Halloween, right? And by then, the season could be over by then in terms of playoffs. So I think that the Barton has a lot of pressure to shoulder. I think that he's capable of shouldering it. And I think, familiarizing myself with the player, listening to our buddy James Foster did a fantastic tape breakdown of him back when the Titans signed him. And he is a really promising player that I think trying to be fair to everybody, aside from Ernest Jones last year, who I think was the best linebacker the Titans have had in the building in some time. I think that he's
since Keith Bullock, maybe.
I mean, maybe. Maybe. Yeah. I really think Ernest Jones is fantastic personally, but I think that Barton, aside from Jones, is the best linebacker on paper that they've had in years. It's maybe more recently, maybe since David Long.
I was going to say David Long was pretty good for a couple of years, right?
Yeah, at his peak. I think Barton, if Barton, I mean, listen, if Barton can be the David Long that the Titans had when David Long was on the field and healthy during those good years, then you got a winner. And that's the upside right there. And that revolutionizes that room. And it also is a force multiplier in the sense that he really sets up these other guys to be comfortable and break out. Maybe like the linebacker is just such a funny position from college to the NFL now, right? Like it's so under discussed how different it is because it's really two different sports at that position in college and in the NFL. And there's a lot that goes into that. But when you can come into the NFL and be in a situation where your breakout is predicated on your athleticism and your traits and not predicated on your read and react time and your mastery of the scheme, which is the hard part. Like that's the part that takes time and reps. And that's why a lot of these guys break out in year 3 and year 4 and then get, their drafting team gets rid of them because they hate them. And then somebody signs them and they're fantastic for a different team. Like that's the MO for linebackers these days. It's because of that. So if you can have Barton come in and be the brains of the operation and let Cedric Gray just go out there and just rip it, then you're in good shape, I think. Like that's the ideal scenario for this Titans team at linebacker.
Yep. I actually had Cody Barton as number 6 on my list as I was ranking it. So he was just outside because I think that you made a very key point here, Easton, for me. And I think you might be frozen or it might be me, but I'm just going to keep talking in case it is not me. So you like James Williams, the talents, the athletes, the second-year linebacker out of Miami. You like Cedric Gray, the athletically gifted linebacker, the movement perspective. But ultimately, both those players were 4th-round picks and 7th-round picks, respectively. You just gave Cody Barton a nice contract to come in and, yeah, Easton's on dial-up. Thank you, guys. That was very good. You gave Cody Barton big money to come in and be the guy on the inside and to help bring those other younger linebackers along. Learning from a Cody Barton is going to be very, very important. And please excuse while my head is split down the middle as Easton figures out his Wi-Fi. But I really do think that we cannot undersell how important Cody Barton is, not only for the play, for the money that he is going to be worth going into the 2025 season and the impact that he is going to be paid to have. It's also, he is going to be the veteran presence that's going to bring along those younger linebackers, right? As Cedric Gray, who didn't do much as a 4th-round pick, can you now start to really process at a faster speed like a Cody Barton can? Because ultimately, James Williams and Cedric Gray are both more athletic than Cody Barton. Like that is not the issue here. The issue is that one guy sees the game faster. One guy reads and reacts faster. One guy processes faster. So I agree. I think that he's very important to this team, and I like to mention on the list. Number 1,
I had to figure out how to use dial-up.
It's hilarious.
Fair.
It is absolutely hilarious.
Gummit.
Yeah. I always hate when someone freezes too, because I just started talking and I'm just like, I don't know if I'm the one that's frozen or not, but we're just gonna keep rolling here. We're gonna roll. Number 1, and I imagine he might be the same for you. I don't know.
I was gonna say I bet we have the same player.
L'Jarius Sneed, number 1.
Hey, we're back to the L'Jarius Sneed.
There it is.
2 straight days on L'Jarius Sneed.
If you want to hear a more in-depth conversation, you can go back to yesterday's show when me and Easton talked about him. But, I mean, quite simply, you're paying that guy a whole lot of money to be a lockdown number 1 corner in the NFL. Yep. He was barely available last year, was not good when he was available, and now he's coming back from an injury that he is still rehabbing from. You need him to be a dude in 2025 ultimately, because you like the depth in the cornerback room, but ultimately, is there a guy outside of Sneed that you were going to say in 2025, he could at his best be a shutdown number 1 man corner in the NFL? Not really. Like they're more secondary options. They're good options, but they're more number 2s, number 3s in a room ultimately. So yes, L'Jarius Sneed, I think, is the number 1 wild card, because I think a lot of people have written him off, but we got to remember just 2 years ago, he's a really good player. So can he get back to full health? Can he get back to his former self, or is what we saw last year before he got injured, is that what you're getting for L'Jarius Sneed when he's healthy? That is the biggest wild card of this group. And I think Easton is frozen again. This is fun times, man.
Hello, hilarious. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Oh, there you go. You're a little choppy. We can hear you.
Okay. Yes. Golly, yes. This is frustrating. All right, my friend Drew, can you see the thing on the screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, great. He said this a couple minutes ago, and he nailed it. I'm coming in late, so this may have been said already, but the boundary cornerback room has to be on here, right? Yes, at number 1. The uncomfortable conversation needs to be had about how disappointing Snead was in the 3 healthy games that he played, and then of course the disappointment when he was not out there. We don't have to rehash the entirety of yesterday's episode, but you're totally right that, let's put it in as plain a language as possible. I just pulled up the cornerback room, and we know who the starters are on paper. It's Snead, it's Brownlee, and it's McCreary. And if those 3 guys are healthy and out there, this is a really good cornerback room. I think this is a above average cornerback room and has the potential to be really fantastic. Mm-hmm. The second you lose any of them, and the one we're worried about most is the one that's supposed to be the best of them and to be the lockdown boundary corner, it gets scary because here's the rest of the room. You've got 6th round rookie Marcus Harris, who I think is the only other guy in this entire room that's guaranteed to make the roster, and that's because of his draft position. Who we saw play some boundary last year and play it, what's the right word? Admirably?
Adequately? Yeah, something like that, right? I mean, that's, yeah. Oh no, did it happen again? Oh no. All right, Easton, I don't know if you hear us, but I think you may have broke up there again. But yes, I think just kind of continue that as Easton figures out his Wi-Fi. This is a player that ultimately you need on this roster, because when I look at the rest of the cornerback room, we mentioned Jarvis Brownlee, you mentioned Darrell Baker. Like, there's some decent names in the room, but once again, this is a defensive line, and talking about the edge group that we just talked about with Femi and Arden Key and that group, that you don't know exactly what you're going to get from a true pass rush perspective in 2025. Like, I literally asked the chats a few minutes ago, would you be happy if your interior defensive line is really good? Your edge rushers, though, are maybe like 5 to 6 to 7 sacks in 2025 as players, right? As key rotational players, as guys that are going to kind of be part of a committee rather than having just 2 or 1 even stud pass rusher. That's the question mark. And you can win that way, ultimately. You can win that way. There have been some good football teams that have won based upon a platoon effect of a pass rush. But here's the problem. When you don't have a fierce and consistent pass rush, you need to be better on the back ends. Like, your pass coverage needs to ultimately be better. So if you are Jarvis Brownlee, we're expecting a year 2 bump to be that number 2 corner on this team. You're expecting Darrell Baker to be able to come in and be a rotational player. You are expecting the nickel position with Roger McCreary and those guys to be a good position. But if you don't have that number 1 corner that you know at times is going to be man-to-man, one-on-one with the best wide receiver on the other team, that's where defense from a passing perspective starts to get a little bit hairy, because if you can't affect the quarterback as well as you want to with the front 4, then you have to be better at pass rushing on the back end. And that is the major question if L'Jarius Sneed is not that guy next season, Easton.
Well said. I'm officially on the phone hotspot now and very frustrated. But
it sounds good. It looks good, though. I mean, there's positives.
Well,
there. Yep.
Great. Okay. Awesome. Anyways, I'm sure as you laid out, the rest of the room is tough, as I was saying, and that's kind of where I'll end this so I can get out of here and then go be angry with somebody over the phone. Yeah, it's Harris, it's Darrell Baker, it's Amani Oruwariye, who potentially provides some pretty decent depth. We'll see. Gabe Judy-Lawley in his second year, Jamari Harris, the UDFA out of Iowa, Clarence Lewis, Jalen Kimber, and Davian Ross, all 3 of those guys UDFAs as well. So it's thin, and it's set up to be a big competition, obviously, because of how many guys they have in the room. But somebody has to emerge, or else this group is supremely thin with a house of cards at the very top, right? It's the guy that we're all almost kind of waiting to fall apart. Not even worried, but waiting. And that's what's so concerning about the group.
Well, and Easton, shout out to you. I have been on shows where my internet has been horrible, and I understand how frustrating it could be, but you came in with a smile on your face, sir. So shout out to you. And the chat loved it, honestly. Bearded Kunu said, tell mom to get off the phone. It's another dial-up. It's another dial-up.
You're hogging all the internet, Ma. Get off the phone.
Gotta laugh through the pain, man. Gotta laugh through the pain sometimes. Yep.
I'm recording on a potato now, basically. All right, that's our show. Let's get out of here with some good news on a Friday. what my good news won't be, but we want to see what you guys have going on. Good news for the weekend, holiday weekend, long weekend, by the way. So maybe you got some holiday plans. Put that good news in the chat here on Friday. Shout out WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Make them a part of your car buying experience at WilsonCountyHyundai.com or in Lebanon. All right, Ryan, do you have? Oh, we're naked. Do you have any good news? There we go. That you want to share with the group? Are you seeing in the chat any good news that we want to share?
Yep, I'll get to the chat in a second. Just wanted to throw this super chat up because we missed it earlier in the show. Spencer, shout out to you, Spencer. He said, first time, long time. Easton, could you ask Coach Callahan if Cam is doing the VR training that Jaden Daniels did and that Jackson Dart is currently doing? Any insight on what improves for the quarterbacks?
Spencer, great question. Good to hear from you. I've got good news for you that I can't tell you about yet, but there's good news that's my good news today, is that there are some things happening behind the scenes along the lines of this question that I think are really cool, that I think you guys will like, and maybe some exclusive things happening for A to Z Sports, which is super cool. So just stay tuned this month. Stay tuned throughout OTAs. Fingers crossed. We're doing something fun in the virtual reality realm when it comes to quarterback training.
Love it. What a teaser. You are a true professional, sir.
I wasn't going to mention it at all until it happened, but here we are, and the guy paid $10, so he deserves to know a little something.
It does. Shout out to you, sir. Shout out to you. Good news in the chat, and then maybe I'll circle back to mine. So we had Damian McElroy, who says, good news, closing on my new house next Friday. Shout out to you.
Very exciting. Congrats.
Very exciting. A lot of it's a long process too, so shout out to you for being patient probably through that process. We have Zachary who says, good news, long weekend is finally here. Hopefully going to the Braves game tomorrow. That'd be awesome.
Fun.
Big Ten Jeff says, good news, Liverpool lifts the Premier League trophy on Sunday, while Arsenal and the entire city of Manchester is trophyless. We're talking some Premier League there. We had
Big Ten Jeff would be a Premier League fan. Extremely on brand.
Esco says, my good news is picturing Easton cussing out the internet people.
It's coming. It's coming.
Cam Ward says he's going kayaking. Cam Ward's burner, not actual Cam Ward, says that he's going kayaking this weekend. So that's cool. Kayaking is a lot of fun.
Love that.
Do like. Generic long weekend, says Bork. I assume that's his good news. We had Tall Text says, good news. Stars dominated the third period and ripped out the hearts of the Oilers. That is his good news there. We have Denise who
said, but happy for you in Texas.
Yeah. Good news from Denise says, back on watching the show after being gone for 3 weeks with my dad passed away. Well, I'm so sorry to hear about your father passing, but glad to have you back into the show. Absolutely.
Welcome back, Denise.
Absolutely. Nick said, good news. My son turns 13 and is officially a teenager. How about a shout out for Brock? Shout out for Brock. Happy
Welcome
13th birthday.
You're basically an adult now. If your parents try to tell you anything, you tell them, hey, I'm a big boy. I can handle it.
Almost as old as Easton now. So that's great.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Brock, I'm going to come knock on your door. Can Brock come out and play?
Yeah. We had good news from Drew's. Talking a little recruiting here, it looks like. The 2026 class is looking solid at positions of need for Tennessee. So it looks like we're talking about some Tennessee recruiting.
Drew is speaking your love language over there.
Yeah, I'm not a big recruiting guy, but I did cover it for a long time.
No, he's not talking about recruiting. He's talking about the draft.
Oh, the draft. I'm sorry.
Draft, not University of Tennessee.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. I mixed up
hey, and you are a recruiting guy. You cover Notre Dame. I see you talking about recruiting all the time.
I mean, it's just kind of my background, man.
I don't understand it even a little bit, but I know you talk about it.
I mean, it kind of sucks, to be honest. It's not.
It looks like it. So I mean, I wasn't going to say it. But...
it's not great. Coach Wells, good news. No lacrosse or soccer practice this weekend. Smoking meats all weekend.
Heck yeah.
There you go. Yeah. All right. I think that's
Wait. What's D. Christophel's good news here? It took me hours, but evidently I can jimmy rig and wire up a dishwasher using sketchy methods with items that may be designed for it. Hopefully nothing floods or catches fire. Why? Why are we doing this, D. Christophel? Why don't you just use the dishwasher the normal way and plug it into the wall and then run it? That seems like the better option here than MacGyvering the electrical wiring of your dishwasher.
Oh man.
Congrats. I mean, I bet you feel
Yes.
accomplished, but how long do we plan on? Did you is this the long-term fix or is this a short-term fix? So that's what I want to know.
Last time I tried to fix our dishwasher when it was messed up, I forgot to turn the fuse off for it and or turn the electricity off for it, and I got like just a little shocked. just a little tiny bit shocked. It was great. It was awesome. Yeah. Good news for me, and we'll let you end it obviously. Good news for me is, and I think I talked about my daughter last time, but so my 4-year-old, Easton, she's starting to get very worldly at this point, understand a lot of things.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
She is talking to me every single day now about Father's Day because I'm coming into her school for it's like a daddy's like donuts thing or something like that. And every morning, dude, she's like, legitimately every morning, she's like, "Is it Daddy's Day yet? Is it Daddy's Day yet?" I'm like, "No, babe, it's not Daddy's Day yet, but it'll be here in a couple weeks." But she's just, and that's dude. She really woke up yesterday morning, opened her eyes and said, "Is it Daddy's Day?" I'm like,
"That's adorable.
No, babe, go back to sleep." Well, yeah, except it was like 5:50. I'm like, "Go back to sleep for a few more minutes." Like, don't do this anymore. But yes,
that's
adorable. So there's good news, man. Fatherhood is good news. Absolutely.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'll make mine fatherhood related on a more predictable note. That our daughter, well, I mean, what's the latest milestones? We're not quite walking. We're getting close. We're pulling up on things. We're doing a lot of strafing. All the signs are there. So sooner than later. What else? Oh, she took her swimming for the first time. That was fun. She loves that. Like the little like floaty thing where she can sit in it and like, play with stuff and had like the best time ever doing that. That is fantastic for us as well, because you do that like right before bedtime and then just zonked, Yes. So that's a pro move. That's good. And that tends to lead to a good night's sleep. So we're probably going to be going to the pool quite a bit this summer. This is what I keep hearing from Nick. Once they start walking, you will never get to rest. That's not
ever. No,
that's not daunting at all. So, okay. We'll see how that goes. So far not walking yet though. So I guess I should get off the show here and go to sleep. Like trying to bank some hours for when my life ends here in a couple of weeks. Is that how that goes?
It is interesting, man. It's worse. You only have one kid, right? You have one kid right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you ever have your second, or when you have your second, it's even worse because they learn so much faster how to do things because they just watch their older sibling. And so like my second daughter was walking so much earlier than my first daughter, and she's just like running up steps and going down steps. And it's just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So Nick is not wrong. Unfortunately, once they start walking, man, it's over. It's fun, but it's over. Absolutely. No more rest.
All right. Fair enough. Well, that's our show today on a Friday. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy your long weekend. We will be back on Tuesday. We'll be taking the Memorial Day off. So don't yell at us on Monday when we don't have a live show, because we get a weekend too around here, especially when the football season is not happening and we need a break. So we'll be back on Tuesday. I believe Ryan and Austin will be back with you on Tuesday. I think I'm starting to do prime times next week. So I think I'll be on prime time Tuesday night. So awesome. Keep an eye out for that. If you've never watched prime time before, me neither. So we're going to figure it out together. We're going to just do it for the first time together over there and have a good time and probably talk about some nerdy things, and it'll be a good time. So come and check out all the content next week. Until then, enjoy your holiday weekend. We'll talk to you next week.